Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today we're going to be talking about Godfall, the game, and the appeal of this game. So I will first of all start out with the story and just tell you that so far it doesn't seem like a compelling story to me. It's more akin to Warframe story in my own opinion. I mean, I'm not saying anything is wrong with Warframe, but I didn't see that story too much with much depth in my first few hours. I know everybody told me you needed to get to the something dream, which was actually pretty cool, but I never really got there. But Warframe still remains a decent and a solid game in its own sense. Now, this game called Godfall is doing some things right. The first thing it's doing very well is its combat. The second thing it's done exceptionally well is its loot, and the third is the fact that it is very, very good with its RPG mechanics and systems. So I'm going to show you these right now, and I'll just basically talk on them as we walk through this video. So for those of you who are curious as to what this game is about, you can actually take a peek into some of the aspects of this game. So first of all, you're going to have to basically farm for weapons and do all kinds of fun stuff. That's actually okay. You're going to be running around and there are different weapon types. In fact, right now, I've noticed that my entire my weapon slots look like they're full, and each weapon comes with specific attributes and even specific rarities. So you're going to have to deal with those rarities. If you notice, this is a legendary weapon that I got at level 1, and it does have multiple attributes. In fact, its primary attribute, and then it's got 3 secondary attributes. This other weapon just seems like a regular weapon, doesn't seem to do anything much. And then once you get to the weapons with the blue rarity, then you start to see that they have 1 and 1 primary and secondary. Green, they're basically just in a common sense. And so these are how they've actually, sectioned them. Another thing, too, is the stats are something to pay attention with. If you look at this weapon, the secondary aspect of it in terms of its stats actually have the critical hit chance. So once you're looking at your weapons, you're going to have to consider different things, whether they be fast, wielding, whether they be heavy, slow wielding melee weapons, whether they be weapons that have specific, I would say, attributes to them that make them a little bit more, attractive to you to use. This is something that you're going to have to, deal with. The second thing is you also have augments for, charms as well. And this is something that, and amulets as well. This is something that's actually pretty interesting to me because, again, we're now looking at more stats as you're progressing. You have epic rarity, and I think you probably have legendary rarity as well as just the rare and then the common, or uncommon is what it's called here. And these amulets also grant you all kinds of really fun things. Fire damage. In the case of this one, the secondary attribute is 10% fire damage. And then you also have a restore 13 health whenever you perform a critical hit. This one here, this epic one, actually gives you 52% breach damage to full health enemies and has a 30-second cooldown, air resistance, and 6% earth resistance. These are the RPG mechanics within the game right now, and I'll tell you for sure that there are some of us who are looking at all these stats and we are just rejoicing and being giddy in regard to what we're seeing, if you get what I mean. So this is really, really cool in my opinion. And then you also have rings. You can equip 2 rings, which also grant you more stats. And then you can also, equip life stones, which are, stones that I guess you're farming throughout the open world. They do have their, really cool stuff. Health recovery seems to be their main stat currently. And then, they also have primary and secondary effects that do, grant the player some more cool stuff. Like this one has got me 45% physical damage, which is something that I want to take definitely and put in my gear. And then I also have a banner slot, which right now I do not have a banner. And I also have I also have another, I also have another idea as to what it is I want to build, and I want to go that direction with it. And so that is just the RPG game and the loot game. And then another really cool thing is the combat within the game. This is where I'm going to actually, splice in some of my combat videos, and I'll just basically tell you that the combat system is quite satisfying. Everything so far that I've played with it, I like it. It's smooth, it's responsive, it's very, very unique, and it rewards timing and basically disincentivizes you from spamming the game. So you learn how to actually fight very well, and not just so, you do so very, very early within the game. It's not just a matter of, oh yes, I'm just going to go ahead and just spam everything. In fact, what's really interesting is the skill tree. Here we have the skill trees. I think there are 5 levels of them. And then all you're going to be doing is basically leveling these up. But one really interesting thing that you're going to see is the very first 2 skills that you can unlock are based on weapon techniques and weapon timing. You see, the weapon timing basically gives you an incentive to properly time, a light attack after striking the enemy in order to unleash a good weapon timed attack, which does have knockback and stagger. And this is something that you're going to be dealing with as you're going through the game. The knockback, the stagger, the soul shatter, and the sundering slam, attributes as well also incentivize you to, play very smartly, and in your weapon play, basically. So depending on the weapon you're using, these are going to pretty much dictate how you're going to actually use these. And then you also have some other really minor attributes, is what I'll call them, like, critical hit damage and critical hit chance. And then you also have some of your attributes here that are basically based on your attacks, your polarity attacks, your breach, your stats, your takedowns, and also your finesse. And these you will be leveling up as you're going through. And this is something that I would say pretty much changes the game for you. It pretty much changes, how you play. Like right now, my shield throw basically hits one enemy, and it does have a little bit of a knockback, a little bit of a stagger. I can upgrade my skill points to actually have to hit multiple enemies, which is actually really cool. I think they snagged this concept from God of War, where Kratos can throw his axe all through the game, basically. Now here you can't throw any weapons that I know of anyways, but you can toss your shield. It doesn't do as much damage. Perhaps you could level it up, and perhaps you could actually build around your shield being very strong, and you can use it. The only thing that I would say is the shield does have that when you throw your shield, there seems to be a cooldown behind it. So maybe as I'm going on through the game, I'm able to, eventually get my cooldowns really low, or I'm able to get more of the shield resources as well. And so you also have an inventory system that does have a lot of these different ingredients that you can use for, construction, that you can use for crafting, that you can use for all kinds of stuff. And I think this is very, very cool. Now, the social aspect basically is where the game lacks, a huge emphasis. It does have a co-op functionality, but you literally have to maybe go into a Discord group, or maybe go find, friends of yours to play with. But the matchmaking, capabilities that usually come with games like these, especially 2020, Destiny 1 didn't have matchmaking. It was basically a game that came in this form and fashion. But at the end of the day, they added it in Destiny 2, and it has become a major success. The Division 2, the Division 1 had seamless matchmaking where people from other places could hop into your, your session. Remnant of, the Ashes, I think is it called Remnant, something the Ashes. That also had a seamless multiplayer as well, where people could hop into your session. And I think the developers need to implement that in the game. Like, that's what they need to be working on primarily in order to get this game to be much more of a social aspect. And then crossplay functionality also needs to be a thing. They need to not shy away. And I can understand the studio that made the game is a smaller studio, but they can actually pull this off. It's not something that is beyond their scope. I think now that the game has been published, it definitely needs to be their focus regarding the game. And so this is the appeal, and these are the weaknesses of Godfall so far when it comes to the gameplay, when it comes to the combat, when it comes to the skills, when it comes to the abilities. I think this game is a solid game, hands down. But when it comes to the story, when it comes to the social aspect, I think the game really needs some work over there. But so far, performance-wise, the game has done well. But the multiplayer, it did seem a little laggy for some of the experiences that I had with a good buddy of mine playing over here. I think that's pretty much something that I would just place it as. So here's it. For those of you who are thinking about the game, I think this game is going to fare better if the development team will slash the price to about $39.99. More people will come into the game. It will really reduce the entry. But Gearbox is publishing, and we know that Gearbox really, is not greedy at all. Yeah, that's a swipe at them. I understand that. For those of you who know, you know. I'll talk to you all soon in another video. Let me know what you think about all of this that I've shared with Godfall, and we will continue the discussion in the comment section. Talk to you soon. Peace out.